Hello, radiant Leo soul, and welcome to Eternal Mindfulness. Let me ask you something bold right from the start. What if you didn't find this video by accident, but because someone in the spirit realm, maybe even your mother in heaven, guided you here, to finally hear what your heart has been waiting for? Take a breath. Let that settle in. Because this is not just another horoscope reading. This is a sacred space for deep energetic transformation, and this message today is for you. Here on Eternal Mindfulness, we don't just talk about stars and signs, we tune in to the whispers behind them. We listen to what the universe, the planets, your intuition, and even loved ones who've passed on are saying to you now. And Leo, what they're saying to you today is breathtaking. If your heart feels even the slightest nudge, if something in your spirit is stirring, I invite you, right now, to type in the comments, I am ready for radical transformation. Let the universe witness your yes. Say it like you mean it. Claim it like the lion you are. Because when you do, something incredible happens. You signal that you're open. That you're no longer just waiting, you're welcoming. And believe me when I say, there's never been a more powerful moment to receive. You see, sometimes, the universe doesn't arrive with trumpets. Sometimes, it shows up as a video that appears when you needed it most. A line that echoes something your soul has whispered quietly for weeks. A message you didn't know you were longing for, until it hits you like truth. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe this is the moment when your inner light remembers who you are, not a bystander in your own life, but the creator. The center. The royalty you were born to be. If you're still with me, I want you to know something else. I am truly, deeply grateful for your presence. For every like, every comment you share, every time you subscribe and invite others into this space, you become a part of this family. You help these sacred messages reach more people. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Your support breathes life into this space, and it means everything. Truly. So trust me when I say this, you'll want to stay with me until the very end today, because what the universe is about to reveal, especially through the eyes of astrology, energy shifts, and divine timing, is nothing short of extraordinary. And now, before we move into the deeper message, I want to ask you, what alignment, what miracle, what truth pulled you into this very moment? Go ahead. Share a sacred number in the comments, one that resonates deep within your soul. Let's invite that synchronicity to speak loud and clear. This is your time, Leo. Your light is rising. And someone from beyond, maybe even your mother in spirit, is watching proudly, whispering, "Yes, my child. Now is the time. You are ready to receive what you truly deserve." Let's begin. Sometimes the most powerful turning points arrive not with noise, but with stillness, a quiet pause where something within you shifts, and suddenly, the world looks different. What we're stepping into now, dear Leo, is not about waiting for destiny to rescue you. It's about realizing that destiny is already inside you, waiting for you to pick up the reins. You are no longer the one being carried by the tides, you are the current itself. The recent full moon, with its light pouring into your chart like liquid clarity, doesn't just illuminate the world around you. It reflects your own inner landscape, casting light on everything you've been hiding from yourself, your forgotten desires, your silent brilliance, the choices you've postponed. Full moons, especially when they touch Leo, don't ask for subtlety. They ask for truth. They call you to step forward not as a character in someone else's story, but as the author of your own. You may feel this now as a quiet ache in your chest or a sudden sense of urgency in your thoughts. That's not anxiety, it's a spiritual momentum. Something is asking to be born through you. And just like the breath guides the body back to the present moment, your awareness, sharp, tender, awake, is what guides your life back to intention. This is not a time to drift in autopilot. This is the time to wake up and say, "This is who I choose to be." Imagine your mother, whether in spirit or memory, no longer leading you by the hand, but gently stepping aside. Not because she's gone, but because she trusts that your steps now belong to you. Her love hasn't vanished, it has become the wind at your back, the strength in your spine, the knowing in your heart. This is the gentle yet powerful energy of encouragement without control. It is the essence of unconditional support, letting go, so you can rise. The Magician card appears here not as a performer, but as a reminder, you already hold every tool you need. The element of earth grounds you. Fire fuels your courage. Water awakens your intuition. Air sharpens your voice. Spirit infuses your actions with purpose. The Magician doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. He creates alignment by showing up, by believing that what flows through him is enough. And you, Leo, are that creator now. There is a practice I invite you into, one that might seem simple, yet opens a sacred doorway. Take a moment soon to write a letter to yourself 10 years from today. Let the future you speak through your pen. Describe who you are, what you've built, how you feel, and how you chose to get there. This is not just visualization, it is declaration. You're not just dreaming, you're planting a seed in the field of your own consciousness. A seed that will grow because you tend to it, with attention and presence. When we recognize that we are the artist of our lives, brush in hand, canvas before us, we no longer wait for inspiration to strike. We become the source of it. We move with clarity, not because life is always certain, but because we have learned to walk with purpose even through the fog. And in doing so, we begin to understand that true freedom isn't the absence of structure, it's the conscious choice to build the one that aligns with our soul. Let this be the moment where you look in the mirror not to evaluate, but to remember. Remember that you are powerful, not because of how loud you roar, but because of how deeply you know your light. And that is the kind of leadership this world needs, one rooted in self-awareness, guided by love, and grounded in the quiet, steady fire that is uniquely yours. Letting go rarely feels like a clean break. More often, it's a quiet recognition that something once meaningful no longer fits the shape of your life. There's no dramatic ending, no final word, only a subtle, growing awareness that the energy between you and that person, that situation, that old version of yourself has shifted. And when it does, there's wisdom in not clinging. Because the more we hold on to what is no longer aligned, the more we block what is ready to arrive. Right after awakening to the truth that we are not victims of circumstance, but active creators of our lives, comes this next step, release. The truth is, clarity is a double-edged gift. When we begin to see clearly, we also begin to notice what doesn't belong anymore. This can be uncomfortable, even heartbreaking. But it is also deeply liberating. Just as a snake sheds its skin when it no longer fits, your soul now asks you to loosen the grip on attachments that once felt essential but now feel heavy. There's a beauty in impermanence when we stop resisting it. The falling of leaves in autumn isn't a failure of the tree, it's the preparation for renewal. Similarly, letting go is not an act of rejection. It's an honoring of growth. What served you once may now be holding you back, not out of malice, but because you've outgrown its frequency. That's what it means when we say something no longer vibrates with your energy. You've evolved, and in that evolution, certain things naturally begin to fade. This phase is about discernment, not judgment. It's about gently asking yourself, does this relationship nourish my inner peace? Does this habit help me move toward who I am becoming? Does this role or identity feel true to me now? And if the answer is no, then with compassion, you let it go. Not because you don't care, but because you care too much to stay in a life that doesn't reflect your light. The number 9, in the language of numerology, represents this sacred cycle of closure. It's not the end, but the completion of a season. A call to lovingly tie the loose ends, express gratitude for what has been, and make space for what wants to be born. And perhaps that's why this moment may feel oddly still or unfamiliar. In truth, it's not emptiness, it's the quiet just before the seed breaks open underground. There is a powerful exercise you can try. Take a blank page and write down the names of the people, dynamics, or beliefs that you feel ready to release, even if just partially. Fold the paper. Hold it to your heart. Whisper a silent thank you. And then, with care and intention, burn it or bury it. This is not superstition. It's symbolic action, a ritual that allows your body, heart, and mind to align with your choice to move forward. And here's the part so many forget: loneliness doesn't mean you are without love. It means you are transitioning from what was to what is yet to come. Sometimes it is only in silence that we hear what is truly meant for us. And that includes the voice of your own soul, the one that has been patiently waiting for the noise to fall away so it can speak clearly. In solitude, you may feel a presence, not just within, but around you. A quiet encouragement. A whisper that says, you're doing the right thing. Keep going. You are not alone. Your mother, whether in memory or spirit, isn't asking you to cling to what drains you. She's reminding you that your light is meant to shine freely, and no one who truly sees it will ever ask you to dim it. There's a quiet power that comes when you begin to believe, not in some distant potential, but in your inherent worthiness, right here, right now. When you begin to trust that you are not required to prove anything in order to receive, the energy around you begins to shift. You might notice it in subtle ways at first: more clarity in your decisions, a lightness in your body, or a sense of being supported without knowing exactly why. This is what happens when you stop chasing and start allowing. You see, abundance is not a reward. It's a reflection. It mirrors the degree to which you believe you deserve to thrive, not just survive. That's why this phase of your journey, Leo, is not only about external income, offers, or opportunities. It's about reprogramming the way you relate to prosperity from within. The shift begins the moment you stop asking, "What do I need to do to earn more?" and instead begin asking, "How can I align with the truth that I am already enough?" This isn't about wishful thinking. It's about cause and effect, presence, and perception. In the same way that water naturally flows to fill a container, energy, including financial energy, flows toward the spaces we open with intention and self-respect. If you create a life filled with integrity, generosity, and grounded clarity, resources will seek you like roots seek water. That's not magic. That's resonance. When the Empress appears in a reading, she doesn't simply represent luxury. She embodies the kind of abundance that comes from deep internal cultivation. She nourishes the soil before planting. She tends to her own energy before expecting results. Her garden grows not because she forces it, but because she honors timing, gives herself permission to rest, and receives without guilt. That's the version of abundance we're talking about here, the kind that expands in your life not through control, but through confidence. In practical terms, this might be the time to get very clear about how you wish to use the gifts that are on their way to you. Write down 5 things you would do if you received unexpected money. Don't just think of material gains, think of how you would express your freedom. Would you invest in your craft? Help someone you love? Create something lasting? When you articulate your vision, the universe, or more precisely, your own subconscious mind, begins to recognize what you're ready to hold. And there's something essential here: giving and receiving are not separate acts. They are 2 directions of one breath. What you've given, through effort, compassion, creativity, is not lost. It's in motion, returning to you through channels you may not have anticipated. This return isn't transactional, and it doesn't come on a schedule. But it comes. And often, it arrives not as compensation, but as confirmation that who you are is seen and valued. There is a teaching that says, when the mind no longer clings, life begins to flow like water. The same principle applies to wealth. When you loosen your grip on fear, on control, on scarcity, you create space for movement. Prosperity, like breath, needs rhythm. And your rhythm is returning. So as you move through this moment, remember, you're not asking for too much. You're simply remembering that your birthright includes the power to choose, to create, to expand, not from desperation, but from knowing. Your light is meant to shine not only in spirit, but in every aspect of your life, including how you live, how you earn, and how you give. And that kind of radiance? It's magnetic. Not everything that feels good in the beginning ends up being real, and not everything real feels easy at first. As you continue moving through this phase of deeper self-connection, your heart begins to crave something more than chemistry or comfort. It begins to seek truth. Love, when filtered through clarity, stops being about roles or promises and becomes something more spacious. Less performance, more presence. Less needing to be accepted, more choosing to be seen. That's what this moment is inviting you to explore. Not what love looks like on the outside, but what it feels like when it's aligned from the inside out. Relationships are shifting now, not necessarily because something is wrong, but because something within you has grown. Just like the body sheds layers of skin without our conscious effort, the soul sheds versions of connection that are no longer in rhythm with who you're becoming. You might find yourself pulling away from conversations that once felt familiar, or feeling oddly detached from patterns you used to chase. This isn't emotional distance, it's clarity. And it can be startling at first, especially when it shows up in relationships you thought would last. The astrological energy at play here brings a kind of quiet sorting process. It's like the universe is gently moving the pieces of your relational puzzle to reveal what truly fits. Those who see you without needing you to shrink, they'll feel closer now. And those who are attached to the mask you used to wear may start to feel far away. This is not cruelty. It's evolution. Tarot's archetype of the lovers often gets mistaken for romantic bliss, but in truth, it's a card about choice. Not just choosing another, but choosing yourself, choosing truth over comfort, soul over safety, alignment over avoidance. When the card is reversed, it can reflect a disconnection between who we think we should be and what we deeply need. Upright, it reflects clarity, the courage to love with your whole self, and to accept nothing less in return. So ask yourself gently, without judgment, can I be fully myself, messy, quiet, radiant, afraid, in this relationship and still feel loved? If the answer is yes, you found something precious. If the answer is no, you may not need to walk away, but you do need to walk inward first. This is also a good time to reflect on the love you offer yourself. Often, we seek certain qualities from others that we haven't yet embodied within. We long for emotional safety, deep listening, gentleness. But are we giving that to our own inner world? One meaningful exercise is to write down 10 things you truly want from a partner. Then, beside each one, ask, am I giving this to myself? You'll likely be surprised by how this reflection deepens your awareness, and in turn, reshapes the way you attract or navigate relationships. There is a quiet teaching that says, when we stop clinging, love becomes natural. It flows without effort, because it's no longer a strategy, it's a presence. To reach that space, you must first clear the old scripts. The ones that told you to keep performing, pleasing, contorting. You no longer need to wear a role to be worthy of connection. You are lovable as you are, even in the pauses, even in the confusion, even when your light dims and your voice trembles. What remains after this gentle unraveling is not emptiness. It's room. Room for someone who sees you without projection. Room for you to love without pretending. Room for something that doesn't just hold space for your growth, but grows alongside it. That's the kind of love you're being called to now. And when you stop hiding from yourself, you no longer attract those who ask you to. Just as your relationships begin to reshape and your inner world settles into a deeper alignment, the sky above mirrors this sacred rhythm with remarkable precision. Celestial movements are never random. They echo the same process that you're living through, a natural cycle of revelation, release, and rebirth. When we look to the moon, especially in its three powerful forms, blood moon, full moon, and new moon, we are witnessing a cosmic language that speaks to the core of human transformation. These lunar phases are not just symbolic, they hold measurable energetic shifts that influence not only tides and biology, but also attention, emotion, and clarity. The blood moon, with its deep red hue, doesn't arise to instill fear, it stirs memory. Its presence calls up emotions long buried, stories we thought we had outgrown, but still linger somewhere beneath our breath. If you've been feeling a strange heaviness without a clear reason, or dreams that revisit old scenes from years ago, you're not regressing. You're being asked to face, to feel, and finally, to free. The blood moon opens the cellar of the subconscious, so you can dust off what has gone unseen and choose, with intention, what no longer belongs in your next chapter. Shortly after, the full moon arrives with a different kind of brilliance. It doesn't pull you into the past, it shines a bright, undeniable light on your present. Its radiance makes it nearly impossible to avoid the truth. Whether it's a relationship you've outgrown, a project that no longer inspires you, or a version of yourself that you've clung to out of familiarity, the full moon brings it all to the surface. This is why full moon energy can feel overwhelming. It's not trying to overwhelm you, it's asking you to see clearly. Like a mirror that no longer distorts, it invites you to witness your life without filters. Then, there's the new moon, the quiet one. After the noise, after the release, comes the sacred stillness. This phase is not about action but intention. It is the soil moment, the breath before the leap. And in this silence, you are offered a blank canvas. If you've been feeling the urge to write something down, speak something aloud, or simply sit in nature and envision your future, trust that. These are not random impulses. They are invitations. You are not planting ideas into the void, you are sowing them into energetic ground that is more fertile than you can imagine. Consider a small ritual here. Write a letter to the version of you who already lives the life you're calling in, not to wish for it, but to speak as if you're already embodying it. Describe how you feel, how you move, how you treat yourself. Fold that letter with care and either bury it in soil or place it under moonlight. You are not asking for magic, you are aligning with your own becoming. There's a simple wisdom that teaches us, when the sky changes, we pause, not to react, but to reflect. When the moon brightens, we soften. When it wanes, we exhale. And when it disappears, we listen. Through all of this, you are not being tested, you are being revealed, to yourself, by yourself. And perhaps that's what the voice of a mother would say if she could stand beside you now, that every phase of the moon brings her closer to the version of you she has always seen. That each moment of letting go brings you one breath nearer to the clarity of your original self, the one who didn't need fixing, only remembering. And now, as we come to the final breath of this journey together, I want to remind you of something simple, yet profoundly powerful. You are no longer waiting. You are receiving. Not because the stars owe you something, not because you've finally done enough, but because you have remembered that your worth was never up for debate, that your light was never lost, only dimmed beneath the layers of doubt, exhaustion, and forgetting. You've walked through memories, made space for release, redefined what love means, and stood beneath the cosmic rhythm of the moon. You've opened doors that no longer lead to the past but to a future shaped by your own intention. And maybe, just maybe, a part of you feels lighter now, not because life has become easier, but because you've let go of carrying what was never yours to hold. There's an image I want to leave you with. Your mother, or whoever that nurturing voice is for you, is no longer reaching to guide your hand. She's standing behind you, strong and quiet, with tears in her eyes and a smile on her lips, clapping softly, because you finally chose yourself. Because you finally believed in your own rhythm. Because you remembered how to walk without shrinking. If you take just one thing from this message, let it be this: you are already aligned with the life you're asking for. You don't need to force it, prove it, or chase it. You only need to keep showing up as someone who believes that it is already on the way, and that you are ready to meet it fully. So take a moment now, before you return to the noise of the world, and pause. Sit still, just for a few minutes. Place your hand on your heart. Close your eyes. And whisper, not as a wish, but as a declaration. I am ready. I am open. I am willing to receive what I truly deserve. Feel how different that feels when it comes from a place of truth, not longing. If something in this video stirred you, even just a little, I encourage you to anchor it. Type it out below in the comments. I am ready to receive what I truly deserve. Say it not just for me, but for yourself. Say it so that others in our community can see it and feel less alone. Let this be your sacred footprint, a sign to the universe that you've stepped into the energy of allowing. And if you feel called to go deeper, ask yourself, what am I now willing to say yes to? What am I finally ready to release? What part of myself have I ignored that is now asking to be seen? These questions are not meant to overwhelm you. They are portals, gentle openings that lead you back home to yourself. And every comment, every reflection you leave here, becomes a part of that collective journey. A journey none of us walks alone. Thank you, from the very bottom of my heart, for sharing your time, your presence, and your energy here today. Every like, every comment, every share helps this message reach someone else who may need it as much as you did. And if you haven't yet, I warmly invite you to subscribe and join our growing family here at Eternal Mindfulness, where each message is crafted with care to guide you back to your center. The stars will continue to move. The moon will wax and wane. Life will keep shifting. But through it all, you have the power to choose how you meet each moment. You are the light. You are the path. And you are never alone on this journey. Until next time, stay open, stay grounded, and remember, your life begins not when the world changes, but when you decide it already has.